Hey guys, check it out. So I went to the range the past 2 days and picked up some lead. As you can see, I got 2 boxes sitting in front of me. I had a bucket on top of that as well, but I've already started cleaning it. I got 150 pounds of scrap lead from the range. Well, to be exact, 150.4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the whole process of cleaning it and then melting it down into lead ingots. So had 150.4 pounds. I've already started the cleaning process. Here's some of my clean lead. I have it just laying out right now on newspaper. The biggest thing is you want to make sure all your lead is dry before you start melting it down, because water and lead do not interact very kindly together. So I just leave it out here and lay it out on newspaper after I clean it, so that it'll dry out real good before I start packing it away. I'm probably just going to get the cleaning process done today, but I will walk through all steps and record each step and how to do it, and hopefully when we are all said and done, we will find out how much usable lead we will get out of 150.4 to be exact, range lead, and how much we'll get out of it that'll be usable when we're all said and done. So let's get started. What I'm doing now is I'm dumping out the lead that I got straight from the range. I'm putting into this bowl, which is basically just soapy water. As I'm going through it, I'm putting the clean lead into here, taking out any copper casings that are loose. I'll just put them in a separate bowl because you want to keep that separated from your lead. There is copper in here, but that'll separate when you start melting it. And then I'm keeping all solid rounds, full metal jackets separate as well, because those got to be cut for the lead to be released. So what I'm really doing is I'm just going hand by hand. There's a piece of copper. I'm just going to put it in there. Again, you don't want copper in it because copper is just going to end up floating to the top anyway. This copper will not melt with the lead. I'm going through just making sure all full metal jackets have been punctured. As long as there's a hole in the full metal jacket, when you melt it, the lead will come out. But in the event that it's a full metal jacket that's not punctured, you're gonna have to cut it because the lead won't come out. So what I've done is I've pulled a couple pieces to show you. So these are just the copper casings. They're the copper that's right on full metal jackets. So I keep that separate, and you know, copper can be recycled. Right now the going rate is around, I think, $2 a pound. So I just save that. I'll ultimately recycle it. Here is a full metal jacket that, if you notice, I know it's kind of dark, but it hasn't been punctured. Here is a full metal jacket, and if you see, as I spin it around here, it is completely solid. There is no punctures. So this piece will have to actually be punctured. It'll have to be cut. I have some tin snips. I'll probably just cut it in half, because if you don't, the lead will melt inside the copper, but it won't actually melt the lead, and you won't be able to get the lead out until you actually create an escape route for the lead. Here's another one that is, again, fully intact, no holes. As long as there's a hole in it, the lead will escape. For example, if you take a look at this bullet, there is a big gash in the side, so that lead will be able to melt and drip right out when it's in the mold. Here is what a lot of the rounds look like. As you can see, it's not a full metal jacket. There's a hole in the bottom, so these are perfect. You don't have to worry about these. The lead will melt right out of those as well. Here's another one. This is a darker one. The full bullet is completely intact, but as you can see, there is a hole in the bottom, so that's okay.
because when it gets hot enough, that lead will melt out. The only time it's really an issue is, again, back to these that are here when you have absolutely no holes and it is a completely intact full metal jacket. These are the ones that you have to remove.
As I'm going through, I'm just inspecting all the rounds. As long as all of the casings have holes in them, that's perfect. That means it'll melt just fine in my mix. Everything else,
if it's a splatter like this is perfect. That's just a solid piece of lead. So these are easy. Any types of pieces like this, even if there's copper hanging off it, it's not a big deal because the copper will ultimately melt off. So here's a piece of lead that is splattered. The copper's on the back, but once it melts, the copper will be able to be easily removed.
All I'm doing is just washing off, making sure it's clean, removing any of the copper. If there's any dirt, I've got a lot of little twigs in here. I'm trying to get rid of all the little twigs because obviously twigs is just trash. So it'll just save us when we're doing our actual burn, that it'll be less stuff you got to take off the top, less impurities that you have to really worry about. Other than that, you just kind of go through hand by hand. I actually take a lot of time doing this. I'm very meticulous as I do it. I don't think you really need to take the amount of time that I do, but I just sit here and I watch TV, and as I'm watching, I just go through the lead. So it's not a big deal for me. If you don't want to spend as much time on this part, you probably don't have to. But as I said, once you start melting the lead, a lot of these impurities and copper will come right off. I'm just trying to save me some time later on because, again, I'm just sitting here watching TV, so it doesn't bother me one bit. There's a full casing, full metal jacket that's gonna have to be cut. I just sit here and watch TV and go through handful after handful. And again, I got 150 pounds to go through, so when I'm all done, I'm gonna measure, I'm gonna weigh all of this lead to see how much has been removed, how much of that 150.4 pounds is lead, how much is copper, and how much is just dirt and debris that I've been taking off. Alright guys, so I finished cleaning all of the lead, and as you can see, I got 4 containers here of lead. In the process of cleaning it, I did find a few full metal jackets that need to be smashed open, which I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. But I got 4 buckets of lead. In the process of cleaning it and separating it out, I did collect a few pieces of brass at the range. So I did separate that, obviously. I do some reloading, so I do save my brass. So that'll take out some of the weight. But also, I got a whole bag of copper. The copper, basically, the plating on the bullets, those that were already separated from the actual lead, I got a whole bag full of copper. So we are going to melt this all down, but just for giggles, what I want to do is I want to measure, or I want to weigh all my buckets of lead to find out how much we've lost from, basically when I was cleaning it, there was some mud, dirt, rocks, things like that in the lead. And if you remember, I had 150.4 pounds of lead. So what I want to see is how much lead I have now after cleaning it, getting all the dirt out of it, all the rocks out of it, little twigs, stuff like that out, to see where I'm at. Plus I want to measure the brass and the copper, just to kind of see where we're at, because my ultimate goal is to find out how much lead we have, so when we melt it down, how much our final product will have. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first bucket of lead weighs 26.6 pounds. So let's come over here and see that. 26.6 pounds. The next bucket, 29.2
29.2. Alright. Alright. Our third bucket of lead, oh, that was a heavy one, is 42.4 pounds. 42.4 pounds. And our last bucket does contain the full metal jacket that needs cut open, but that's okay. We're just gonna keep that right on top there. Our last bucket, 45.4 pounds. 45.4 pounds. Alright, so we just measured all of our buckets. Alright, but let's not forget our bag of copper and our bag of brass. We're just going to measure these two together just to get an idea of where we're at. So, alright, so the brass and the copper together combined is 1 pound and almost 7 ounces. 1.6, I'm sorry, 1 pound and 6.9 ounces. So basically 1 pound, 7 ounces. We're 145. So we've lost basically 5.5 pounds or 5.4 pounds just from cleaning it, getting the mud, dirt, again, some rocks, some little twigs that were out of it. So we lost 5 pounds just from that. We'll see, 145 pounds. I'm anxious to see how many 1 pound ingots we get when we're all said and done. These are the bag of full metal jackets. I don't know if you can see them there. These are the ones that are fully enclosed where there's no openings for them. What we need to do with these is we just need to break them up a little bit so that the lead is exposed, because once the lead's exposed, the lead will melt out. The lead on the ground and just hit it a few times with a hammer, and that's really all you need to do. If you hit it a few times, you can see the full metal jacket is broke open. Now the lead will be able to melt out. Alright, there's another one that I split open. As you can see, it's now the copper on the outside is open. There you go. There's all the lead, full metal jackets that have been smashed up. Just enough so that when you put it on the burn, the lead will be able to melt out. Alright guys, what we're going to do is we're going to start melting some lead today. I want to kind of walk through everything that I've got set up prior to us actually melting, so you can get an idea. As you can see right there is my cast iron pot. The fire is going to be right underneath there. Put some sticks already down there and some paper that I'm going to get started. Here's where I'm actually going to pour. I actually brought a level out because I wanted it to be completely level both ways so that it's not completely level, but it's close enough, because when I pour, I want to make sure the pours are as level as they can be. I got 2 metal dishes. These are what I'm going to put the copper that gets brushed off the top on, and all the dirt. Here are my iron casts. I've got 3 of them. One of them's already over here. I've got 2 more. They're actually going to be poured right over here when it's all said and done. I brought some pallets. These are what I'm going to use to start my fire. Got some logs and whatnot, a little sticks to get things started, and of course my 4 buckets of lead. And in that bag right behind there is just a bunch of sawdust that I got at Home Depot for free. Just walked in and asked for some sawdust, and they said sure, why not. This morning I also picked up a sifter. Still got the tags on, I'm going to take that off in a minute. just a regular spoon. I didn't want to use any of the spoons that I had in my kitchen because I don't think the wife would be so happy with me, so I just bought some cheap stuff. And then of course a ladle. I did order an iron skillet ladle, but that's not going to be here for another week or so, so I've got this pretty cheap. So those are the tools I'm really going to use. I'm going to have my tripod set up right there where I'm going to be shooting from, but ultimately when my ingots are done, I'm going to place them on this pallet right here to cool off. So without further ado, I'm going to set up the camera and I'm going to light this fire because it's going to take a little bit to get up to temperature. So I'm going to pour some lead in that pot and I'm going to light my fire. Alright guys, so this has been on for about just over 20 minutes, 22 minutes to be exact. I just opened it up to see where we were at, and man, it looks beautiful. A lot of the lead is melted, copper is sitting on top, so I'm going to start scooping it off here in a minute. So I just have these two metal pans to collect my debris and copper. So all I'm going to do is take this, all that is copper pieces. Right off the top there. Trying to stay downwind. That fire is hot.
stir it around actually. I got a lot of dirt on here. Try to put a glove on. It's hard to work with that glove. I got a different bowl for this dirt. I'm not going to clean it too much because we're going to add more lead. Now that it's pretty hot, like I said, it took about 22 minutes. Ooh, bad idea, bad idea. I'm going to scoop it in there. It took 22 minutes for it to melt. It should go pretty quickly now. Actually, I'm going to try that again. Put that lid back on. Just because I don't want things. I put the dirt in a different container because I keep the copper. I'll actually end up recycling the copper, so I don't want to put dirt in with my copper. I can take the dirt out and put it into a different container. And there, as you can see, I let it cool off a little bit, so I got lead stuck to it. I'm just going to stir it up here real good. Actually, now that I stir it up, I think I loosened up the container. It's all going to get to the same place, so. Oh, that's real pretty. Okay, there we go, liquid lead. All right, now that I got the majority of the dirt off, I'm gonna take out my sawdust. I'm just gonna throw a little handful in there. It will start on fire. Will catch on fire. I'm gonna
stir it around here as soon as I get my gloves back on. And I was gonna use a candle. They say you can use a candle to flux it, but I was told that if you use sawdust, that it works a little bit better. So I'm just gonna stir that around in there. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna take a lot of the impurities and bring them to the top. It's already brought a lot of them to the top. I'm gonna just pull them off again. Got my fire going real good, man. It's hard to be in there. You notice I put my cast molds up there. You don't want to pour your lead into a cold mold. So I put them up there just to keep them, to warm them up before we start pouring. And I know I just fluxed that, but it's hot, so I gotta wait till that fire goes down just a little bit to get my hands back in there. Put it in the next batch. I hope you can see that I'm just now taking off that thin layer on the top. Getting all those impurities out of there. I can work with it now that fire went down. That was tough. What I'm going to do after I get this top layer off, I'm probably going to flux it one more time. I'm just scraping the bottom of the pot, because if there's anything stuck on the bottom, I want to be able to get that off too. Day out, because it is hot right here. Oh, I'm very happy with that. Okay. Well, let's try pouring. This has been sitting there for a minute, so I might have to use this one instead. I was going to try to do it without the gloves, but that's just not happening. That is heavy and hot.
last thing I want to do is drop it. These molds I got are supposed to be 1 pound molds, so it's supposed to be 1 pound of lead when I pour it in there. Now, looks like I did pour a little bit over that second one and third one. So what I might do is see how it turns out. If I'm not satisfied, I'm kind of a perfectionist and kind of want it to look nice. So if I don't like it, what I'll do is I'll just re-pour it. I don't know if it's dirt, that's all. Unless it is too late. But it is from. I'm not sure what's there, but alright, let's take one. Alright. Okay. Now, since that's my first pour, I'm not sure how long I want these to sit, so I'm just going to add more lead to it. Give these about 5 minutes. Then we're going to pop them out and see how they look. And then at that point, we'll start pouring more, if all goes well. Okay, looks like I can pick this up. There's my first pour. Actually, honestly, I'm not real happy with it. As you can see, it's not the cleanest. So I'm probably going to pop that one out, remelt the bars, reflux it, and do it again. Just because, I don't know, I'm weird like that. I just want it to be perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give that about 2 more minutes. And then we're going to start popping them out. Let's pop these out and see how it works. See how it looks. We'll do my first one first. Came out pretty clean. I picked them up because of my gloves. And that actually looks pretty good. Still a little hot to the touch. Yeah, these ones that have the ugly backs, I think I might just re-pour them. Just for giggles, because now that I did it the first time, I think I did it a little bit nicer the second two. Unfortunately, I can't pick them up because my gloves don't really let you pick things up like that. And it's too hot to pick up without my hands. So, there you go. First pours. Not bad, but I'm gonna redo some of those that I did first. You know, it was my first pour, but I'm very happy with that. It's very pretty. So I'm gonna put some of these back in the pot. We're gonna re-pour some, and we'll come back on after we do a good amount of lead today. All right, here they are, 120 lead bars, all poured yesterday. I have in a bunch of little baggies here. This is the trash that basically comes along with it. So here is the copper, whole box of copper. It's actually 16 pounds. I already weighed that. 16 pounds of copper. I will recycle that. You can get some money for copper. And these little bags right here, this bag right here, this is the lead that was at the bottom of the pot when I was done melting it. And I actually went through all the copper yesterday and pulled out all the little pieces of lead that were in there as well, because I'm going to remelt that next time I have a melt. Here is the pieces of brass that I picked up at the range. Not a bunch, just a little bit. And these two bags here, these bags were Full Metal Jackets that I happened to miss, so they didn't melt in the mold. These are the ones that are going to need to be smashed and remelt because the lead is still inside there, but it didn't get out because the Full Metal Jackets, and there was no holes in that lead. And these right here, these are pieces of copper that have a bunch of lead stuck on them, so they didn't melt fully. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in my next melt as well. So these 3 bags are going to go into my next melt after I smash these Full Metal Jackets open so that the lead can get out. So what I'm going to do now, if you remember, I had 150.4 pounds when I came back from the range. I'm going to measure each and every item along with the lead bars to see the amount of each item I have now. So these bars should be about a pound each, because the molds I got were 1 pound lead molds. So they really should be. We're going to measure a bunch, and then we're going to measure all of them together and just get an idea of how much lead we have total. So let's get started with that. Alright, it's time. It's time to get our final weigh-in. So let's see how much we got. Alright, first bucket. Ooh, it's heavy. First bucket is 46.4 pounds. 46.4 pounds. Alright. £37 even. 37 pounds even. Second bucket. And the last bucket. £32.2 pounds. We're going to weigh our lead. So this was the excess lead that didn't melt, or it melted, but it just didn't have enough to pour it in. So our excess lead Oh, no,
it's hard to see there. 2.79. 2.79 pounds of lead. We're gonna weigh our copper. I weighed it earlier, but I'm gonna show you the amount. £16 pounds. 16 pounds of copper. These are the rounds that need to be well, the full metal jackets need to be split open, but need to be melted and poured. So of that, we've got, I don't know if you can see that, 1.78 pounds. 1 pound, 7.8 ounces. There they are, 120 bars of lead, about 116 pounds. So I'm very happy with my first load.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what vintage Christmas does. It connects us and it makes us feel good. Our hearts are already open at Christmas time, so let's open even wider when we look at these things and talk about people who made Christmas special for us.
I'm super excited about my first load. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give away 4 bars. 4 bars, so I have 120 of them here. I'm going to give 4 of them away. If you want to be entered in to win my 4 bars, all you need to do is hit like and subscribe to this channel. And I will be pulling a person at random to give out 4 bars. So if you want in, hit like, subscribe, and I'll be giving them out later this month. Thanks for watching.